Happy Friday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of You Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. Joined, as always, by Mr. Matt Carlson. Matt, how was your week, my friend?
It was okay. I should not have played the Sha Tin Dirt card as I boldly predicted. Those days never go well. And actually, it kind of chalked out, which I guess that's probably because all the actual dirt horses target that day. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're probably going on a couple weeks since I've had a decent selection at either of these tracks, so we're due. Um, but the week otherwise was good. So,
We're due. Oh man, that's a trap if I've ever heard one. Yeah, like I've had a couple of decent winners here and there, um, at Sha Tin on the undercard. Obviously, the races that we're not covering here, but I've been firing every pick three, and I don't know. I feel like it's funny because I feel like I'll see the early races pretty decently. Maybe I'll get one or two nice wins home, and then like I don't know. I feel like my analysis on the late races have been I don't know, they've been a little bit off. I think that I don't know. I think last week we kind of we mentioned most of the horse. I think there was one bomb that came in that
yeah,
I think
race 8, the 160 whatever to
yeah,
one
yeah that
that
one
came in. We didn't have
yeah
that.
no, we didn't have that one, but I did feel like I think the other ones we were
Yeah.
were around, but I also think that they weren't exactly like huge prices, but live and learn. How about everything else? How you gonna look at this Churchill Downs card tomorrow? I mean,
I
I
I
think
have
it's the only
not
track
looked
running
yet.
really. So
I played some Woodbine today. Woodbine
mm,
has been actually pretty good. I feel like I'm not necessarily seeing it great, but I think their pick 5 today paid like 8,600 for 20 cents,
oh
right?
wow,
20-cent base. And not all that out there to be honest with you, right? I mean, if you got around a couple short prices that really weren't all that great on paper, it wasn't like it was complete nonsense coming in. You just had to get a little bit wide, which I did not. But yeah, I feel like Woodbine's been a pretty good opportunity, and everything else I've been playing has felt pretty, I don't know, either pretty chalky or just not sensical. Like I played the Penn Mile today. I don't know why I did that. It's one of those things where you fire a bet and you're like, I shouldn't be doing this. There's no reason, but hey, there's nothing else going on, so
I,
I'm gonna fire it. And lo and behold, I didn't I didn't hit anything.
no,
But
but what's funny is the two big races at Penn today, and I was like, I'm gonna play a Frankie double. Maybe Frankie wins both of these. And I was like, what am I thinking? Like, no, that's just not. And I mean, sure enough, right? He wins, right? And that I think that would have been the play. I think it was like, I think he was on the favorite in the race before the Penn Mile, and then in the Penn Mile he was like on like the third choice or something.
yeah, yep.
And so I think you probably could have gotten a little bit of value there, but I was just I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it today, so I didn't play too much. I played the late pick 5. Obviously, maybe some people like to listen to old sequences, but I did handicap that with the Wolf of Oaklawn on the Notorious OTB podcast. I'm a frequent guest over there, and so yeah, I don't know. There was one race where there was like a 10-1 I really liked, and then he was like bet down to like 5-2, 3-1 favoritism. So that was basically how my day went there. But yeah, it's been a little rough. I think next week, with the Belmont Stakes Festival, I think that's going to be it's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see a couple of things, and we talked a little bit about this on Drank and Champagne earlier this week, but I'm interested to see how the track plays. Because this is not a time of year that they normally run. Obviously, I mean, New York's not going to mess around, right? So obviously, this thing it's going to be immaculate, right? They're gonna have put the work in to make sure the track is ready for this big week. So it's not really so much like is the track going to be ready? That's not what I'm worried about. But this is just not a time that they've ever run. It's the same thing. Like if they were to run a Breeders' Cup ever at Saratoga, it's like okay, like November. Like, when has anyone run on this track in November?
Yeah.
So interesting to see what the weather is like, how the track plays. A little bit interested to see how the event in general is going to go and how it's received, because I've already seen some of the restrictions that they've had, uh, and okay, hey, maybe for the biggest day that they're going to have up there for a while, like, fine, but like, I don't know, man. Part of the allure for me, at least for Saratoga, is being able to roll your own beer cooler in and just drink some good. I'll get Mark to buy Heady Topper and oh, what's the other one?
Alchemist, or yeah,
Focal Banger,
Focal
yeah.
Bagger, yeah, yeah,
And we'll just drink. I mean, this is stuff that I can't get here, and we'll roll those in and just have a good time.
yeah,
And I I'm as big of a fan of canned cocktails. Like, they work great for these types of things, these types of events. But like, paying the price of a 4 pack of canned cocktails for just one you could bring in yourself, one case you could bring in yourself, or 4 pack or whatever. It's not exactly looking like that's not the Saratoga experience for me. But um, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that as well. And I'm just interested to see what's going to happen with the public, right? Because you and I, we're pretty wired in, right? We've probably both already seen Matthew DeSantis' this video where he voices over all of the restrictions they had. I was actually poking some fun at him. I was like, because I saw some of the YouTube comments, and someone's like, "Wow, this sounds like a courtroom," like all like the things you can't do. And So I was poking a little bit of fun at him earlier today. But I mean, how many people are going to be like, "Oh, like, it's Saratoga, like it's just like every other day." I mean,
yeah.
I feel bad for the people who are going to be working, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of really angry people.
Yeah, and I mean, even it's funny because I remember probably at least a few weeks ago, if not a month ago, right? Like, I think it was Rapoli posted something about like what does a track need to be successful, and like Bobby Flay posted some comment like, oh, you need a bunch of various dining options and a bunch of things to cater to fans between races, and it needs to be about the experience. And I'm like, man, Saratoga lets you bring all of that shit in yourself. You bring your own experience, and that track is packed to the gills 40 days a year, right? The whole allure of that is if you want to go cheap, bring cheap. You want to go in fancy, bring fancy, right? Like I've been going to Saratoga with my family for 35 years, and I swear I've probably never bought anything from a vendor there short of, a DRF form and some ice cream for my kids. Like that's the whole point of that track. And to see that not happen at Belmont, to your point, right? I get it. I get that, like, especially on their biggest day, right? They want to adhere to that and like keep the rules and whatever. But to your other point, right? Like, that's not Saratoga. Saratoga is 40 days of a picnic that happens to have some of the best racing in the world going on day in, day out. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I got to imagine that a lot of people are going to want to treat it like it's summer at Saratoga. Um, I don't know how that's going to work with all the vendors around there because Saratoga is the summer place to be, and it's not quite summer just yet. So I don't know if I know there's a lot of rentals and things like that go on up there. I don't know how all that's working out. I'm sure people are figuring it out because there's enough money coming in. But yeah, I don't know. I as soon as I saw those, I immediately was like, I'm not going to that. There's no way. Like, I'm not paying $30 to get in and then, not be able to use cash for anything and, not be able to wheel in my cooler and, basically sit there on the lawn and, smell a bunch of cigars, watch the grass get messed up and, just enjoy some racing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the whole appeal of the place. And so I don't know, I do feel like this industry gets it wrong a lot of times because that's the kind of stuff that seems to attract people and not the whole like, you know, Gulfstream Park, like turn it into a nightclub with horses kind of thing, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting as far as the track goes, right? Like I don't know. We'll see. The turf will be great, I'm sure, as always. The dirt, even given what happened last year, I do think that thing's just going to be a highway personally, right? They're going to turn it into the safest, trampoliniest dirt they can possibly have, and you're going to see a lot of horses probably run around and like a merry-go-round. So, just my opinion. We'll see, right? I don't think it's going to be the Saratoga of old where, you're seeing favorites, kind of finish out the back because, they got that really deep track and horses trying to slingshot around the turn. They can't get it, right? Like you saw it the past couple of years, even. That surface has been a lot different. So, yeah, that's kind of how I'll think to play it. But, hey, you'll see it on Thursday. I'm sure we'll be watching them playing it because there won't be much else going on. So,
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know. It always intrigues me a little bit with casinos because so in Illinois you can't comp drinks, like it's illegal, right? Um, but like there's nothing against them charging like the absolute minimum that they need to, right? They're
yeah,
like there's nothing wrong. Like hey, like if the casino had $5, and I can't believe I'm saying $5, like that's cheap, right? Like I'm dude, I'm like thinking about when I was in college, there was a bar across the street from where I grew up, and I think the Miller, Budweiser, and Bud Light was $1.75 or $2 for a bottle, right? And now I'm talking like, dude, if they were only to charge $5 for that, right, as opposed to whatever absorbent amount that they're charging now for drinks, like, I mean, people would
yeah,
lose so much more money. Like, I don't know. It's
that's
it's interesting. Like, I feel like we're racing has been going this way where they're just trying to make money at every single corner
yeah.
of the track now. Where before it used to be the hey, let's bet, but
Yeah. I mean that, what even I think I went to Belmont last year, like the Belmont Friday. I've gone the past couple of years, right? And I mean, tickets to get in are $20 and the pricing for every concession is like you're at an Islanders game right across the way at UBS, right? Like $12, 16-ounce cans. Our good friend DC got what he referred to as the worst burger of his life for $18. I mean, the thing looked like lips and anuses on a bun.
oh
Like,
no,
I mean, it's just it's horrible, almost prison quality food for an exorbitant amount of money, and that's what a lot of stadiums are now, and I think that's what they want to try and get, right? They want to be that stadium experience, but you're not drawing stadium crowds that way. And again, I think that's a lot of the allure of a place like Saratoga is you don't have to put up with that. You can bring your own stuff, and again, they seem to do fine. But yeah, I'm with you, right? Like you can't be grifting people at any turn and then ask what's going wrong.
yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop in Vegas. I think we still got a couple of years before that happens. But just like
There's still competition, but yeah, I'm
as
with
time
you.
keeps
Right?
on going, like my wife and I, we used to go 3 4 times a year because flights out of Chicago were cheap. They would comp our room, and like we would spend money. We'd go out to a nice dinner every single night, right? And before we would go and it'd be 100 $125 $150, right, for dinner for two with we drink, so we get three cocktails each, right, that they used to be $15 a piece, right? I mean, you spend money easy. Well, this last time we went out, and every time we went out, I don't think our bill was under $200 anytime we went out, right? And so now it's like the cocktails, like they're $20 $25, right? And it's just like I don't know. But the thing is, it's not even just Vegas. Like I went downtown Chicago, and it was like a dressed up old fashioned. They wanted $22 for it. I was like, absolutely not. Am I paying $22 for an old fashioned? Okay, great. I see what you're doing, what you're trying to do. I see the bourbon you're using or the rye you're using, and all. No, not $22. And yeah, it was just wild, man. Like, just everywhere is just nuts. But yeah, let's get on the more positive note here, and that's this late pick three here, and we're gonna start with a Group 3 race. The Sha Tin Vase here, handicap race, going 6 furlongs at 1,200 meters, and I mean your morning line favorite is going to be this too, Invincible Sage. Obviously beat California Spangle last time out, and in a Group One, and you know I don't know. I maybe I got a little too cute here trying to get around this too. But I don't know, Matt. How did you kind of see it?
Yeah, I think it's a two horse race on paper, right? I think Invincible Sage will be your favorite. I think the other horse that your eyes will immediately go to is the nine, Kai Ying Rising, right? I mean, that's the hot horse, obviously moving up in class. But since this is a Group Three and not a Group One, it gets a lot of weight, right? I mean, and I do think in the sequence you have to pick one of them, right? I think you can't just play both and expect it to pay, right? Um, by no means am I saying don't bet Invincible Sage. If you like Invincible Sage, go for it. I'm just saying from a pure gambling perspective, don't play both of them
Mm-hmm.
because that's a great way to not get value on your ticket. Um, but you know me, I love weight, and Cotting Rising's going off at 115 pounds as opposed to Invincible Sage who's going off at 129, right? 14 pounds for horses that I think are closer than that. I got to go with the lightweight. Obviously, Zach isn't riding here. I don't think he's riding here this week at all. I think he might be in Japan. I'm not
Mm.
entirely sure of that, but I don't think he's anywhere on this card, so I'm not looking too deep into the fact that he's not riding here. It is a Group Three, so I get that he'd be looking elsewhere. But yeah, I think Kai Ying Rising to me is the A that I'm gonna go with. And you know, eh, probably not use Invincible Sage on a ticket. Just again making that choice. Um, the only other horse that I will want to go back to because I always go back to it is the seven Mugen. I'm going to use it as a B. I'll go back to the well on it. I don't know. I was trying to watch last week and figure out, okay, like how was the track playing? And obviously it's stupid because to me it's like, a couple things, right? One, to assume that a track is going to play consistently week to week when they move the rails week in, week out here, and weather is obviously very up and, it's day to day when you hit summertime anywhere, and especially in Hong Kong, right? So, like, depending on how much rain you get, depending on, what kind of goes on, that track could play much different. Also, you mentioned Saratoga before and the time of year they're running. We're going to twilight cards here, so this card on Sunday will not go off at your traditional midnight or 1 a.m. It'll go off at I think my time like 4 in the morning.
Mm.
They do that because it gets so hot in the summer, and there's a reason they don't run in July and August. Um, they push it towards the night because otherwise it would just be too hot for the horses to run. So this race I think will go off around breakfast time if you're up. So the good news is you actually get to watch the track and you can adjust
Yeah.
plays where normally I am asleep and as much of an insomniac as I am, I'm not watching these things live. Um, but right, I think last week if you look at it, those horses were either wiring or it was coming way deep and closing in. And I think if this race does manage to fall apart, Mugen's the closer that I would want to kind of go last to first, right? That horse will be sitting very deep and kind of making that one big run. So, does it have enough ability? Probably not as good as those horses, but again, lightweight. I did like the cutback last time. I'm willing to forgive the fact that it was unyielding last time and didn't get home, but yeah, that'll kind of be my other B. Because I do think there's a fair amount of pace between like Victor the Winner pressing, maybe Stoltz off the layoff pressing, and I think Kai Rising does want to be close too. So, hey, maybe it gets hot up front, and Mugen I think is the horse that I'd want to take to pick up the pieces if that does happen as a B. But most of my money will be through Kai Rising and tossing Invincible Sage. So.
Yeah, I think I've been on Kaiying Rising basically since he started racing here. I mean, I think when I think we did an episode when he was first race here because
Yep.
I noticed there was a syndicate, the Kaiying Syndicate had it, and I was like, this one's probably live. And one first up, and then followed up with 2 seconds, and then just rattled off 3 wins, including first up in grade in class two. So yeah, this just seems like the type that they knew they had something good. on their hands, and they just got it up the class ladder as quick as possible. He's been bet like a sure thing basically every time out. So I'll kind of take the new shooter, I guess, in here. Some of these have been running in against each other in Group One, Group Twos, and Invisible Sage did get the best of California Spangle last time. Obviously finished second to Lucky Sway Nace, two back. But I don't know. Those are two really monster efforts there from this horse. And, now the horse has just gained more and more weight on top of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is I'm going to play against here. I kind of just assume that this horse is probably going to be maybe half the price of what the nine's going to be. I assume this one's going to go off at close to even money. I think he's going to be really heavily favored. So a little bit of, I guess, game theory for me, right? I'm going to take the longer price and a horse that I think is going to go off at double the price and is going to win more than their odds. I think in this case. So I'm going to go with the nine as well. I mean, if something crazy happens and like you're watching this live and you see the two float up a little bit, or if the two and nine are kind of the same price, maybe, maybe I think maybe switching a little bit over, but just the way I think it's going to get bet, I think the two is just going to be much, much shorter than the nine. And I probably, I don't think that, I think the two is a little bit better than the nine, but I don't think that it's going to be the same. Um, I don't think it's. I think that the prices aren't going to match that. So let's continue on here. Race 10 here. We're going to be going the unicorn distance, 7 furlongs, 1,400 meters here, Class 4 racing, and man, you want to talk about a group of horses that have not won in a while. I
This
mean,
is this is a large drop off in quality from race 9.
yeah, I mean, it's funny. If you're watching on YouTube, you got the PPs up here, and normally you get at least one or two horses that got like some red in here that shows that they've won a race, and you got nothing here. Um, and when I looked at this race, I was trying to kind of get a sense of the pace scenario for this race, and kind of try and figure out what I guess what I thought some of these horses were going to do. Like I said, pace wise, and just I don't know, like it's just such a weird group of horses. Um, the one My Flying Angel probably I mean has some natural speed, um, and is drawn out in the parking lot. So that's not really one that I was really interested in using. Um, I mean, I think does have back races that fit in here and can win, but I think this is one that probably needs to maybe shed some pounds and go down a little bit more in weight. I mean, he's run okay up in Class 3, but yeah, I don't know. I think this is one that maybe not this time, but next time might be worth a look. Um, I kind of landed on the three top scorer as my top pick, and I mean that race two back is really doing a lot of the work, figure wise. Um, but or I mean the last two races have kind of both been pretty good. But this is kind of like you've used this word before. This is like the litmus test for this race, right? You kind of look at this horse like, and this is I think the horse that you got to compare all the rest of the horses to. Um, this is just a consistent horse, and all consistent and consistently finishes second and third. But all of those efforts, I feel like are at the same level as the best efforts of a lot of these horses. So I just kind of think like I know what this horse is going to do. I know how this horse is going to run. I know he's going to try get out there on the lead. He's going to be close up, and he's drawn okay. He's drawn in the six post here. So I think he makes a ton of sense here. The one flying angel is the horse I was thinking of. That race two back at the distance that fits in here as well. And obviously he ran that one at 7 furlongs, and all of his other races have been 6 furlongs. So maybe if you think that he wants that 7 furlongs, maybe you can make a case for him. But I just think with the draw and the high weight, I just think that I would need a pretty large price on him in order to take a shot there. So the three top scorer I like in here. He's probably going to be really short, or he's going to be favored. I took a Matt angle here, and I scrolled all the way to the bottom. I found the horse that's got the one, and that's not carrying a bunch of weight. I look at the last three efforts where he's kind of been drawn out wide, and yeah, I landed on the 12. Ruby Sailing is kind of my second choice here. This is another one that does have some races, or has one race that does fit, I think, with the rest of this group. It was going 5 furlongs. He does have one. He's got two 6 furlong tries, no tries at this distance. But I think I don't know. I think breeding wise, I don't think should have a problem getting that extra furlong. So I think 7 furlongs should be fine. Like I said, gets the one post here, and is carrying 120 pounds. So I don't know. I thought with just a bunch of horses that, I mean, a lot of them kind of look the same. A lot of them don't like to, or none of them like to win. And you're getting the low weight. You're getting a good draw. And I'm gonna guess you're gonna get a pretty good price on this horse. I would expect probably 8 to 1, 9 to 1, 10 to 1, 12 to 1. Like I expect a pretty decent price on this horse. So I'm gonna go with the 12 Ruby Sailing as my second choice. I also have as an A, and I think I'm just gonna go with those two. You're likely favorite to three top scorer, and I'm gonna take a shot with this 12 Ruby Sailing.
Nice. I like it. I mean, I looked at that 12 a fair bit, and I thought I went a different direction because I thought that the pace might get hot up front. When you look at that horse, when you look at the one, I think the horses you mentioned might be all vying for the lead, and I think you've kind of seen, hey, if they hit those contested paces, especially on a turn, that's kind of when they fall off a bit. And so I thought, hey, just looking at a setup, that's probably how I thought this race would play out. Um, I also wanted to get around the three. I agreed with you that that horse is probably your likely favorite. I mean, it's got what, 5 races, and it's got 4 seconds and a third.
Hmm.
I mean, I see that, and my immediate reaction is, wow, that horse is pretty good. It's hit the board 5 times. And my other reaction is, does that horse just hate winning, right? And again, when I talk about when you when I at least think about fair value, and I'm not good enough to totally, make fair value odds, but to me, right, that's a horse that's going to get overbet. If you have a horse that's never actually won a race, but is going to get bet like your likely winner, that to me screams, okay, I want to get around this personally. Again, same sort of thing as last race. Do I think that horse is, you know, maybe the most likely to win or the best horse in the race? Yeah, probably. Do I think it's worth the price that you'll get? No. And so that's why I tried to look elsewhere and kind of find some angles that I thought may work in here. I kind of probably fell into the trap that I usually fall into of like, okay, what are some angles that usually work, and try and find those horses, right? When you don't find someone that stands out, I'm like, okay, what are things where you would expect improvement, or how can I find a horse that, is kind of better than what it's shown on paper, right? And I think I went towards 3 horses in here that we'll see. I'm not
Hmm.
overly confident in any of them, but at least I can gin up some excuses for why I think they might have a chance to win. Um, the first one I'll go with is the 5 Handsome Bomb, right? This is just one of those horses that I think, obviously increasing in distance has made up some ground on some fairly forward tracks, is hitting that fourth race. And I think that fourth race angle to me is one of those that it tends to work sometimes, right? 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time, I guess, if
Hmm.
you will. So, um, you know, uh, it's gone off at some pretty big prices. I do think you'll get a big price again. But it's been right there, and it drops a couple pounds from the last effort, right? It's been drawn pretty well. I think it's drawn okay now in the 8 post. But any improvement in here, I think, makes that horse competitive in the field, right? The first race that it ran, I think, is right there with this. The last out was again, pretty consistent with what you would expect for this field, or good enough to win. So if it improves at all, if it moves forward in that fourth race, like it very well could, you'll get a big price and you'll get a pretty good performance. So that's one place I wanted to go. The second horse I liked was the 7 Smiling Collector. I love me a horse that's 0 for 12 at the distance. That's what really stuck out. No,
Hmm.
I think it was making up a good bit of ground on a very forward course with a very poor draw. You get Karis teeing up, and when Zach's not here, I think Karis is maybe the top jock, or at least viewed as that. So it's good to me that he stays up. Um, in the bad draw last time, I think he took all the way back, and I don't think that was the play on that course at all. And so if given the better draw, he gets it into the race, he gets it, kind of that mid-pack run. um, I do think that the effort two back, where he kind of showed that, right, like was sitting fifth, sixth, and ran on for second. I think that race is probably something that does win here, to be honest. So again, I think you'll get a fair price on this horse. I think it's shown, has some back races that are competitive here. And I think if, again, if that ability is there, if you've seen kind of that consistent improvement over time, there's no reason that that horse can't win. Um, the last horse I like that probably is my favorite of the three is the 13 Volcanus. Obviously is drawn very wide, but was drawn worse last time. And I think has some excuses, right? This I'm kind of, trying to cook something up that may not be there, but um, those two efforts in March and April, so the third back and fourth back races, I think are really competitive in this field. And I think you have some excuses to, the past two, right? You have the race at Happy Valley. Happy Valley's a much different course than here. If that horse just didn't take to Happy Valley, then I think it's got enough excuses, right? I think that you could just toss that one. I think last out, right? Obviously it was running from the 13 draw, and, kind of had to take back and close down into the track. And again, I don't think that was the play that day. So to me, if you can toss the last two, you get a little bit of a weight break from that. And you get not a great draw on the 11 post. This horse I think is right there, just like the rest of them. So, again, probably trying to fish for some prices here with some, angles that may not play out. But if one of them plays out, hey, maybe it helps make the sequence. So that's where I'll go. I'll use the 5 to 7 and the 13 here and hope that, one of them finds some ability or finds a decent race and gets home.
Yeah, I feel like I could go super deep in this race. Um, just looking at some other horses in the spot. Um, I looked at the 8 Smart Fighter as kind of another one. Um, has got a good draw in this case, and I mean, has a race recently that he did draw pretty well, but I think this is another horse. He's similar. He's like a worse version of the 3, where he's
Yeah.
pretty consistent, but he's just a little bit slower than the 3. Um, and I mean, this is one that just hasn't won yet. But and if you kind of look at his running lines too, like they're just like not super inspiring. Maybe the 1-4 back where he finished second, like that one, like looks like, hey, if he actually, if they take the horse back and kind of make that run, I thought, he might, like, if I were to go any deeper, he would be one I used. I liked your 7, um, as kind of like you were saying, that off the pace play. Um, and like I said, I think the one's not without a shot in here as well. Um, but with I think the relatively short price we're gonna get in the first race, I didn't want to go too deep, so I'll stick with the 3 and the 12 here. But yeah, I could definitely go much deeper in this race. And then that leads us to race 11. Class 3 racing. Once again, we're going to be going 7 furlongs here. And, you know, I don't know, man. I think that this 6 might be able to get a little loose up here. The speed maps got him as kind of like the lone leader in here, but I do think there's some other interesting speed. I think the 4 Storm Rider, who I also have as an A, has shown some good speed, and he's shown speed from outside draws. So even though he's drawn outside, he gets Karis Teeton aboard, and Zach's not in town. So if Zach's not in town, you either call Karis or you call up Hugh Bowman. They called up Karis Teeton here, and yeah, I think if they utilize the same tactics that they did with some success, the races 2 and 3 back, well, the one 2 back didn't really have success, but I just think that this horse needs to be up on the lead, and I think that he's got a good shot to get the lead. I mean, the 6 is drawn inside of him and has shown some speed, but maybe the 4 is a little faster early. And then the third horse I used was the 7 Jolly Ruler here, who's moving up in class off of a win. And this is just another one. This is one that's coming in here with some form. And I kind of look at those closing fractions, that closing fraction last time, and that's just a really impressive, 22.9 come home. Especially in class 4. I think that fits in with something like the 6 did last time out. And yeah, I think that he might get he's going to get a good trip. He's going to be drawn. He's drawn pretty well. They're drawn in the 4 post. Has got a win at this distance at this track, and yeah, I just think that this is a horse coming in good form. Keeps the same jock aboard and gets a better draw. Obviously he won at 36-1, so last time out. So maybe this is a case of if you didn't go to the wedding, don't go to the funeral. But I think he's in here with a pretty decent shot. So I think those are the only 3 horses I'm going to need here. It's the 4, the 6, and the 7. Matt, where did you land?
Yeah, actually, really similar. I like the 4 and the 6 for a lot of similar reasons. The 6 I don't probably even need to talk about, right? That horse has been super consistent. I don't think he's ever finished worse than fourth. So, a lot to like there. The 4 Storm Rider, same sort of logic I had last week with a horse, saying that horse really hasn't been getting some great breaks in the draw lottery lately. If you look at it, right, the post that's gone off at 14, 10, 11, 12. Not that the 9 post is too much better, but I think it's a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So take the bad luck out of it, and take the fact that for whatever reason, a lot of horses are moving up in weight here. I'm not sure if it's just some weird class 3 thing where you're getting horses kind of all picking up 4 to 6 pounds, or if
Yeah.
the top rating just isn't a lot here. But to me, like, staying the same weight is almost a benefit because the rest of this field is picking up a lot of weight. So, hey, it's funny because I had that angle last week for a horse, the 14 horse, Chili Baba. And then I looked, and that horse ran like out the back. It was terrible. And then you look at the notes because they interview the trainers and the jockeys afterward and say, well, what happened? Your horse ran like crap. Like, why? And they go, well, I don't think the horse liked being inside. It didn't like being inside of horses. It's like, okay, well, great. It was running so far out for so long that the horse was not trained to actually break inside of a horse anymore, and it's freaked out. That's a great excuse. So who knows how real that is? But I read that note, and I chuckled a little bit that I gave it that out, and turns out it didn't like that post. But hey, what's the odds of that happening twice? So yeah, the 4 and the 6 I think are where I'll go primarily. The only other horse that I wanted to take a very long priced stab at would be the 5 Harmony Galaxy, and this is a horse that showed absolutely nothing on debut, but that was on a yielding course, and yielding courses to me play very weird, and they're always excusable to me, especially here. Um, and you had James McDonald up. James McDonald, I don't think you put up if that horse doesn't have any shot. It went off. That horse went off. I think it 40 to 1, somewhere around there. So obviously very long odds. Um, I don't, this horse may run way out the back and not show anything, but to me, there's at least a little bit of a question mark there where, given what happened last week, hey, if you get 60, 70 to 1 on a horse like this, maybe, why not, right? I'd rather have a question mark than horses I know can't run. So I'll probably toss that one in as a B, especially in a payout leg. And hey, if it sucks up for second and I'm alive, that probably pays better than whoever wins. So yeah, just a little bit of, like you said before, game theory and betting theory to sneak that one in and, maybe catch a slice if I happen to be there. So.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us here on You've Got to Be Sha Tinning Me. Obviously, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on audio form, go ahead and set up that auto download. That helps us out here. Obviously, I am at Cherry Drink, at wrong_lead, on thewronglead.com. Matt Carlson's at Slow and Studied. He'll have all of his stuff up on Twitter for the 3 a.m., 4 a.m. start or whatever we got going on.
Brunch card.
On Sunday. There you go. But have a good weekend, guys.